Right, it's Tuesday night, it's time for The Last Word. Good evening and welcome. This is a show that looks at data, insight, and using that we glean to get the truth. Every week we pick a topic, we get into it, we dissect is actual, the truth of it, and that truth is what we call The Last Word. Tonight, we are looking back into 3 years. 3 years ago, on the 13th of September 2022, William Samoei Arap Ruto finished taking 2 oaths of office and assumed office as the 5th president of the Republic of Kenya. 3 years later, has he delivered on the promises that he made to the people of Kenya? Has he lived up to the mandate that he was given by the people of Kenya? That is the topic that we are asking ourselves tonight. And of course, I am not alone. My name is Eric Latif. I have with me Zaha Ndimuli. She is a resident Gen Z and straight shooter feminist who is never afraid to ask the tough questions, always going for something deeper than just the surface level answers. We also have Sharon Momanyi. She is a multi-award winning journalist with years of experience searching for truth and impact, and every single day she's always looking for that impact that affects the Mwananchi and what it means. My name is Eric Latif. I'm a journalist. I ask the questions, I start conversations, and even when you think that that question is a bit too hard to ask, unfortunately, I don't think it may be too hard to ask. So that's what we'll do. So tonight, we're asking that question. Has President Ruto delivered on his promises 3 years on? We have a poll on our digital platforms. We are live streaming this show on YouTube, on Facebook, and on X. And please, if you go to those platforms, you can participate in those polls and vote. We have a live audience with us here tonight, plus a panel that will be helping us to dissect the issues. We have Brian Kiprono, who is a Director of Strategy Execution in the Executive Office of the President. We have Ian Mutiso, who is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Gabriel Muduma, Deputy Government Spokesperson, is also here with us. And we have an economist, William Ramogi, also to engage on these particular issues. We also have a very, very active audience with us tonight, and they will clap so you can just know that there are many. They are legion. They are all of them here, including Mwanase Ahmed, who's an active citizen, and very many others that will be engaging with them to ask ourselves this miss 3 years on. Let's get straight into it. We first start with what we always do, the hot button, issues that have been, burning throughout the week. And we'll start with
the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam was just inaugurated a few days ago by Ethiopia. And there has been a lot of controversy, particularly among the 3 countries along the Nile River. And this is a project that has been more than a decade in the making. And of course, some of the issues have been to do with the operations of the dam, scarcity of water, survival. It's the classic case of, a country upstream harnessing its own resources for development and the countries downstream, fearing for their own survival. And my take is this. I think that this does not need to look like a fight among enemies, but that this is a classic, a one-off opportunity for Africa to show that we can solve our own problems, This, obviously, Ethiopia has the right to harness resources within its country, for its own development. But the River Nile does not belong to any one country. It's a natural resource. And I feel that there's an opportunity for the African Union to lead the solution around this. Forget about all those treaties that were arrived at those old times in colonial period. But that this is an opportunity to have an African-led solution, perhaps form a commission that will bring on board not just representatives from the 3 countries of Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia, but across Africa, have hydrologists, engineers, legal representatives, because this is the largest hydroelectric dam in Africa, and there's a lot that can be done to harness this as a power hub in the region. So let's look at this as a possible chance to have a blueprint for future cooperation in Africa. That's my hot button.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I think, what you say is that it's, of course, brought in some tension among those 3 countries, Ethiopia, Sudan, into Egypt. But it's an opportunity, like you say, for for us to relook at how we relate.
Yes.
Because some of these deals were made with our colonial masters a long time ago, and there was being spearheaded by those colonial masters. It's about time that the African countries then decide we are running our own affairs.
Exactly.
And it's a way to do it.
And that we can solve, conflict. Conflict is natural, just what are the pressing issues, who can be the mediator, and then how do we go around it? Yes.
Indeed.
I find it very interesting when we call upon the African Union, but I think that's not the topic for the day. Well, my hot button brings us back to Kenya, where once again we're on the streets. This time, the Association of Staff in the University. So there is a 7-day strike that has been announced, and I'm glad that the government has its presence here, because maybe it would be good to alarm them that universities have been succumbing to a lot of understaffing, a lot of strikes, unpaid salaries, and they're asking for CBAs from 2017, 2021, all the way to 2025, amounting to 2.73 to around 8.8 billion. Those are teachers, those are staff members whose hands of higher learning are on their hands, and they're calling for a strike courtesy of the fact that their arrears have not been met. They're opposing a proposal by government to right-size staff, or rather to reduce the staffing within our universities. And for me, having seen what Moi University has already been, it's such a shock that just after the Ministry of Education had announced any other irregularities in terms of learning, we're also having the university staff members bring in the issue as well. But before we continue, the Secretary General, Constantine Wesonga, had something to say earlier today on the matters the same. Let's just take a look.
Get the word. The strike shall commence on Wednesday, 17th September 2025, and it shall continue until all the issues I've stated are implemented in total. 2.7 billion must hit our members' bank accounts. The 8.8 billion shares for 2017, 2021 CBA must also hit.
They'll bring this to their seat. It's not a joke. They will be in the streets tomorrow. Actually bargaining between joining them because some of us are still in university, and will we ever graduate? But importantly, let staff members who are holding the higher education that we recognize, they have had arrears from 2017, and it's only due that if it's the only thing we can do right, let's pay our teachers. That's my button for today.
I feel like we have a lot of these problems that are clearly indicating we have a cash crisis in this country. Everybody is
Cash
on
in
the
the wrong
streets.
hands.
All that, and I would want to get some reactions later when we engage our panelists, because we have representation from the executive office of the president, but that we have basic requirements, basic services like education crippled in the country, and I don't see that we are scared enough. That's my problem. That's my issue.
It's become like a normal thing. It's like
Exactly.
CBAs are things to be agreed upon just to kick the can down the road. All unions will always complain about CBAs, particularly unions that sign CBAs with the government. I wonder whether the other unions that sign CBA is signed, and then some years down the road you hear, we have arrears.
Another strike.
Yeah, more strikes.
I find it very funny how, by the way, for Kenyans, CBA means collective bargaining. It's a collective bargain. Yes. So we're not talking about what they are necessarily due. We're talking about what they have asked and bargained towards. Something to think about as well.
And they had agreed on it. So we also have hot buttons from members of our audience, and I can see there's a gentleman here with a Che Guevara t-shirt, and I think he has something hot to say. Who's got the mic on this side? Hot button, please.
For me to be the next to honor this achieved. My name is Rico. I'm a student in the University of Nairobi.
We'll be sorting out your mic. Is it okay? Okay. Let's cross over to the other gentleman there who has a mic. Sort of that mic. We'll come to you shortly and hear the issues that you have to raise and get to your hot button. What happens with the hot button basically is, what is it that you have an issue with that you'd like to raise with the nation? And can we all hear it? At some point, you can discuss it. But the important thing is that you're bringing it to the fore and everybody can get to discuss it.
Yeah.
Right?
Which are very key issues.
Yes. When those mics are getting sorted, let's get to our topic, Sharon.
Right. And the topic of the day, President William Ruto and the Kenya Kwanza administration has just marked 3 years since taking office, and we're doing an audit. The promises that the president made to Kenyans, what we're going to achieve during his tenure, and just the progress, a progress report. What is being achieved, what is working, and what is, what are the hits and misses? And of course, there are various pillars around which the president, championing the Hustler Nation movement, promising Kenyans, that services will be delivered to the ordinary Kenyans. And that's the question we're asking tonight. Do you think that President Ruto has achieved his promises to Kenyans 3 years on? And the various pillars we'll be looking at, because we want to base our discussion, and when we work towards the last one, on data, what has been shown to have worked. And we want to start by looking at the economy, debt, and cost of living. And of course, the president, time and time again, has been doing a public self-assessment of what his administration has achieved. And one of the key things that has been consistent in that is the narrative that this government has stabilized the economy, and some of the markers, a reduced inflation rate coming down from 6% in September of 2022, and recently being at 3.56%. That is a show of a drop of inflation. And of course, the conversation also that has been following this is the high cost of living. And I just want us to make sense of this. Even as we see inflation rate drops, the shilling has, of course, started when President Ruto took power, that it was high, but has, and of course there were some shocks in between. At one point we were up to 150 above the exchange rate to the dollar, and that it has stabilized this far. But this is not being felt down by common mwananchi, because recently we did a poll ourselves showing just how much 1,000 shillings can afford the ordinary Kenyan. And I don't know if our mics are on now, so that we just start by getting a feel from the audience now of answering the question whether you think that President Ruto has achieved his promises 3 years on. There's the red side of the placards and the green side of the placards. If you think he has achieved the promises, then green would be voting yes. The KK administration is right on the mark to achieving the promises, and red is no. Let's see the votes from the room. Yes is green, no is red. Is the president and the administration achieving
You're free to be
the
honest.
promises?
Just raise it up. A couple of greens, a couple of reds.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think we can take a yes, it's working view. There's a gentleman with a hat. I see that hand being very...
Mic to him.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Muridi Alex. I'm a youth leader from Mwiki, Kasarani constituency. I think to be here today to address about this very about the delivery of President William Ruto's government. The question you want to get into business, you asked whether the president has delivered. Yeah, and I said yes, but yes is relative. For me, I think he has achieved it, but in his own world. In our world, because I think we have always been listening it.
What did you just say?
He has achieved it. Actually, listen to me and make my point. He has achieved it in his own world. Because on a daily basis, he convinces us, him alone and his counterparts and his colleagues, they are the only ones who know that our country is progressing in the right direction. But anybody, all literate people, all people who have studied, lawyers, engineers, and everybody, they say we are heading the wrong direction. He says that we are not okay. So for me, I think the president is good, and actually he deserves to be given the presidency in 2027. But according to my English teacher, he taught me two definitions of who is a president. First, a president is an elected head of a state, which we have given him right now. But in 2027, President Ruto will get his presidency. The second definition, that is the main celebrant for a Eucharistic celebration. On the recent past, we all know that the president has almost changed to become a priest, going to the churches and everything. We all know him of what for him.
I think we get the point. We'll come back.
Just to say,
we'd like
thank you very much.
To that so we can continue with the conversation. On this other side, a red. So let's balance it. You had a red? Okay. Give him the mic and let's hear your name and why you think he has not delivered.
Thank you very much. My name is Moshir Wakagoni. I am a youth activist from Gatundu North, Kiambu County. And today I want to say that the president has not achieved anything he promised. In fact, he has managed to break the nation's spirit, whereby he has achieved a disillusionment to the people of the Republic of Kenya. Instead of Kenya is crawling like an old amphibian on a hot tarmac. Wow. He gave very fat promises, just like an elephant, but with a thin delivery, like a starving goat.
Let me ask you,
today,
you know, our question is very specific. Has he delivered on their promises?
Zero promises delivered.
No promise delivered on?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we saw, we saw a couple of years.
And it's important to note that...
yeah, I think there's some people who said yeah.
Yeah, right? Don't mean it, you know. Not the satirical yes.
Not the scientific yes.
Yeah,
let's hear from the gentleman here, yes.
And of course, there's the evidence-based answers. So if we can support our answers as much as possible.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, my name is Lev Soor. Professionally, I'm an optometrist. So actually, the president has delivered. For the past 3 years, been in office. The president normally says uses one example. For example, the price of punga. He normally says when it's high, but currently the price of unga is at 160, depending on the type of the unga you want to buy. Mm-hmm. So those people are saying that the president has not delivered anything, that the people who voted actually for the president. So they are just kind of angry of the president, and that's the fact. Okay. So to me, the president had delivered, and
just unga.
No, the economy is stabilized. Yeah, sure.
Okay, with unga as an indicator. Another red and green.
A couple of people said yes.
We want, we want to hear the green. So we've had two no's.
Anyone? Yes. Behind, yes.
There's a. You can pass the mic to the gentleman in the hat.
We'll get to the reds. We see you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Kutosi Peter. For me, what I can say about the 3 years of President William Ruto, for sure he promised, and I'll speak maybe on education. He has delivered, but on a negative deviation. Because he has delivered on education, he promised to have quality in education, to have another education that is quality for everyone. For example, the system that we have. Exactly, it is good that he has brought change, but at the end of the day, the change is not surpassing the ground. So that is a change. Even if we see that he has not tried, he has brought that change of education, that change from SHA to SHIF, of which the system is okay, but it's not working. That's the problem. But that is a promise that he has delivered to Kenyans. Thank you.
The change is not from SHA to SHIF. The change
is
is
from NHIF to SHA. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
There's another yes. Behind.
There's a yes. Uko nyuma kabisa. Let's get the backbenchers. Hapo. All right. And let it be a yes. Okay, not a conditional yes.
Yeah, so my name is James Aningo, a youth leader. And I can say President Ruto has delivered, but I can say partially. Because if we can see in the sports industry, you can see he has transformed the sports industry. Right now, Kenya is also going to the world level in terms of sports. So in that aspect, he has really delivered.
Okay. So we'll come back and continue the conversation.
And a focus, I think one thing that is really pinching the masses is the cost of living. And I just want to engage Mr. Kiprono. When this government came into office, one of the promises that the president made specifically was that the country is going to reduce public borrowing. The debt status of this country has been linked to, the high cost of living because of the taxes we have, all these measures that are taken to do this. What is being done to ease this burden on wananchi?
Thank you for this opportunity. That is the radical call by His Excellency the President. And one thing is, if you see his leadership is about the bold, making life better, elevating the lowly to a certain. If we start, this is a Kenya Kwanza government. It had 5 better pillars, namely issue of agriculture, housing, talk about MSME, healthcare, and digital superhighway. That's the plan that was, a plan is a written document for the 10 years during his proposed tenure. We are now at 3 years, exactly 3 years, 3 days. However, during the term, the first year was what we call a transition year. He didn't have a proper budget around it, but he worked on the policies. Second year, we worked on the policies to see elevation of issue of agriculture, issues of MSME, issues of delivering the aspect of the digital superhighway and digitizing the country, and the housing. 3 years later, we can say midway, we have 5 strategies which the president has done. One is a plus in microeconomics. He has seen subsidize the issue of the fuel from wherever you are to where we are currently. The aspect of the dollar rate, that's what has been seen in the screen. Point number 2, he has acted on what we call the value chains. You've seen the value chain in the pillar of agriculture, the issue of cotton, livestock, revival of different mining areas and the likes of blue economy. Number 3, He has worked around, when we talked about MSME, now we've recrafted another way on job creation. Aspect of you've heard about the Kazi Maju, the localization, having the housing projects to create local jobs, international jobs, and even the hybrid. The fourth, what we're working on under the presidency is what we call the social enablers. These social enablers now, we've recrafted two things, and the focus is on healthcare. We've seen the education reforms as part of it is the issues of financing, the aspect of and the like, not the list. He's focused on what we call infrastructure for support, these enablers, the aspect of the sports. We are happy today as a country. One of the things that will go down during his presidency is the support of the sports, and specifically the sports infrastructure. We have now Talanta Stadium, sorry. We have the aspect of revival of the Kasarani. So if you go around those things, these are tangible things that we can talk of impact base. Now, ask yourself, out of these 5 in alignment to the better plan, that is a marking scheme that we are focusing on. The president.
And the development strategy the government has, I don't know. It's one thing to have the strategy, and I'm sure you know, Mr. Kiprono, that you're working towards. But 3 years on, looking at those particular, goals that have been put down, and I saw when you were talking about some of the reforms, like education reforms, a lot of heads were shaking in the room, because it's one thing what has been envisioned on paper, but where are we? How are we doing with education right now? Like capitation issues have been ongoing over the issues, even just streamlining the implementation of the new curriculum and all that. So the true audits, and I want to bring in Mr. Mudhama, to support Kiprono kidogo, that when you do a true audit of the same, and we started with the feeling of the economy, there's this macroeconomic plan, and I think we've had even this discussion on this show before, that on that level, things seems to be doing well, a stable and a growing GDP, inflation going down, but that how this translates to the feeling, the quality of life of wananchi is a totally different story. Yeah. And so do we want to focus on where the country is going, but where does that hustler who was at the heart of the president's campaign and, blueprint for development, where is the welfare of that hustler?
Sharon, good evening, and good evening to our amazing and talented people. I actually see we have so many people from the universities, or is it? Yeah, you see, Brian has actually put in some amazing numbers, which is true. But also you've alluded to the fact of the feeling. Answer to that question. And to be fair, I always tell people, good judgment in terms of fairness, you need to look at where I was or where we were versus where we are. So by looking into those two demographics, you understand the journey and how far we've come. You've just talked slightly about education. And when we were really talking to hustlers, we look at the data and we all agree, Eric and myself have been into this many times, engaging into the same conversation. And one thing we'll agree was, when you looked at the data then and now, remove the feelings, there is actually some element of tangibility. What am I talking about? One, education, we realized 10%, ladies and gentlemen, 10% of all the vulnerable children were making it to colleges. 10%. That our education system skewed. And you need to look at this. After secondary school, Eric, so many people in our informal settlement, hapo ndipo masomo ilikuwa inaishia. Today we're talking something different. The feeling that you're talking about to the streets, am I right?
Yep.
Not only with us, it has happened from way back when, right? So what ended up happening? It was not just a stopgap measure, no. People sat down and crafted credible, deliberate actions. Where are we today? We have farmers, 6-point-something million farmers in our database who receive fertilizer because that's where we subsidized production instead of consumption. And you may remember, there was a time we said, we'll subsidize unga, and we managed to bring it to 100 shillings. It didn't last a month. Why? Because it wasn't tangible. Today, we have 76 million, ladies and gentlemen, 76 million bags harvested of maize. It has never happened in the history of this country. That is data. What do we have? Right? It has never happened. Toka hapo. Subsidized fertilizer inafikia kila mtu. Before, do you know what was there? Brian can show you the facts. The middlemen are so many. Na Eric tulikuwa tunanunua fertilizer because we know somebody and we resell it. All right? So we've gotten something right. You may not feel it now, go by. If you now wedge that to the economy, because we were nearly heading to become a net importer, am I right?
So I think
the
question to you is to connect what Brian told us, which was the plan and the strategy being executed, into the Mwananchi. As a government spokesman, as a communication person, as a communication person. So now we have more maize, as you said, and that is something that you can talk about. We have more maize in our stores. We have more maize being produced. Okay, let's talk about.
You use the right word. We are feeding.
Has that contributed to the reduction in the cost of maize flour, maize meal? Okay.
Definitely, Eric. Definitely. See, my friend here, and I'm actually not using data from Brian. I'm using data from my good friend here.
You're using data from the ground
because it's true. 200 and something to now 160, and in other places, there was actually one of your TV stations, no, not yours, but there was
is
a
that the
station
optimum price that unga should be when we have the most maize produced in this country in the history of Kenya?
And you know, the question probably you're asking, can we control maize price? We can't. But by producing more, that price, whether we like it or not, it will go down. In other places right now, you can get unga for 100 shillings. It was actually proved, that's why I was taking you. It was put in one of the stations. They went around and indeed got unga, not these majorly branded ones, but you can actually get unga for 100 shillings or less.
Okay. Sharon went shopping a couple of weeks back. How much was it when you spent 1,000? It was 1,000 bob.
It was 1,000 bob.
And also somebody else spent the same 1,000 shillings. What was it in the basket?
I remember we got a small cooking oil, like I think 250 ml, one packet of unga, tea leaves. We couldn't get milk and sugar. And we got bread. But there were literally those items, and 1,000 shillings was done. And this we did to show, do you know how many people have 1,000 bob to shop every day, Gabriel, in Kenya? Not many, because against this is an ordinary average Kenyan who's probably paying, getting a net of 20,000 sitting in their and this is even a stretch for many. And you have to pay school fees, you have to pay rent, you have to pay, survival. Actually, it's survival. There's no luxury.
Sharon, to just answer your question and then pass the mic. Inflation notwithstanding, we have to be alive to the facts that this is a trend, right? When you
it's a trend?
This will be the trend. I mean, inflation. The 500 shillings I had 10 years ago will not afford me, you know, yeah, those are just the facts. But
so
when
then
you look
is there a responsibility then to cushion Kenyans from this kind of shocks? Because surely we are talking about dignity, Gabriel.
Sharon, I think
yeah.
when I talked about securing our reserves to ensure that we are not becoming a net importer, that we are looking inwards. For instance, you've mentioned sugar. Do you know, for the first time, nearly in the history of this country, do you know the first time we've not imported sugar?
Really? How about the one that was caught?
Really?
In court?
I've just said really, caught.
How about the...
You said something that was caught, an illegality. I'm just telling you a fact.
So we have not imported entirely?
We didn't import sugar.
Is Mumia's sugar function?
When you asked me the other day, we were looking at reviving all that particular sugar sector. I think the question that we should be, we are looking at being sustainable in a way that we do not import. And that is where we are heading. And we are heading in the right direction.
I hear you. I have a question. I was in the protest last year, and I mean, I show that I'm rendered to very real with you right now. You've mentioned that the government has done, that has alleviated everything you have said, just one. And then to Mr. Kiprono, I've talked about agriculture, housing, digital superhighway, SMEs. Kazi Maju actually struck a nerve on me because that's total brain drain. I think more work should be done, should be made here so that Kenyans stay home and build this country, but we're sending them out, fine. Housing jobs, where we're saying we're creating jobs for people to go and build establishments, which means kazi ya mjengo. We have engineers, doctors, teachers, people graduating in millions every single year. I don't know if all of us are supposed to go build things. I have a question for you. I also want to understand on your perspective, those policies you've mentioned that are infrastructures, that create infrastructures where institutions are magnified, all that chain of thought, just one policy that has rendered the cotton and blue economy, agriculture down. Mind you, this is Kenya Kwanza government, meaning bottom up, meaning hustler, meaning all these things. Let's talk about those people you guys campaigned with. I want to know, is there any getting people from poverty to actually access these things, that has taken more kids to school, that has brought healthcare to the people, the hustlers we keep talking about?
Before I pass it on, healthcare to the people, I think we can come on that, but let me just pick one because you've asked a raft of many questions. Kazi Maju, you've called it a brain drain.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what it is.
Okay.
Today, if you look, I don't know whether you saw the headlines today. The fact remains that we have hit 5.6 billion US dollars in remittances. Now, let me ask a question. Would you call that brain drain?
Yeah, 100%, because
oh,
those
really?
Are still
wait a minute. Yeah. Really?
Remittances,
our cousins, no, wait, our family members. So what you're saying is our family members to come back here and work where? No. No equation in the world works like that. Right. Let me give you an example. Dubai today, I'm giving you an example. It's a great economy, right? Yeah? Let's be serious. Let's be serious. 400,000 Kenyans are in cities of the world. Listen, they are not looking for jobs. They are working.
Okay.
And remitting funds to this. I think.
So how about the Kenyans?
I think as we grow, we are going to. And guess what? This issue of job creation is something that is going to be with us for the longest. Oh. We must continue looking. I'm telling you. No. Yeah. Then that's a good policy. Is it not a good policy? Kazi Maju is not a good policy. The one we are calling labor mobility is an amazing thing, and it's working.
The policy is labor mobility. We'll take a break shortly. We'll take a break and then come back. There are questions that, Brian, you need to answer on what policies are in place, proper policies that, you can say that this is what we are working on. Labor mobility, you say policy. To what extent is it a policy? Is it just a policy or is it a program that is have been introduced by the government? But this is the last word where we are looking at data, insights to get to the truth. And the truth today is on that last one. The question we are asking 3 years on, do you think President William Ruto has delivered on the promise? And you can continue voting on this on our social media platforms, on YouTube and Facebook and X and Instagram, where we have the poll running. You can, vote, and we'll be looking at what you're saying as well on all those platforms. Back in a moment.